Two powerhouse political sources join me tonight: former Obama administration official Van Jones and David Polyansky, who has served in capacity to 5 Republican presidential campaigns, including Senator Ted Cruz's. Great to have you both here. It is going to be a very different speech for President Biden tomorrow night. What do you think that's... You and I were together when he dropped out of the race. What do you think that's going to look like?
Look, I mean, first of all, he loves his party, he loves his country, and he has come to respect and appreciate Kamala Harris. He knows his job tomorrow is to praise her, is to say, if you liked me, if you trusted me, this is the person I trust. And he's got to make the case for her. He's starting the party off. But I think the big story is going to be the reaction of the crowd. Joe Biden has been with us for 40, 50 years. He's one of the most beloved Democrats. And he is doing something incredibly courageous by falling on his sword to let the next generation go forward. And I think the reaction from the crowd when he walks out is going to be something to remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's expected to be incredibly loud, and just to see that moment. It's actually the only night he's going to be here. He's not returning for the other nights of the convention. And obviously Republicans, David, have been trying to tie Harris so closely to Biden, to his policies, given she's his vice president. You know, one thing that I've heard from a lot of Republicans that I was talking to, even just this weekend, is they're just amazed by how this last month has gone in terms of the momentum that she's been able to hang on to, something that this week is only expected to continue at least for another few days.
That's right. Well, look, it's been an unprecedented month. I mean, I don't think we've seen anything like this in American history, nevertheless, presidential politics. And so I think right now for Republicans, they want to do two things this week. Number one, try to paint a contrast here. And tomorrow night, our hope is that President Biden stands on that stage and talks about the Biden-Harris agenda a little bit and juices our opportunity to go in the 7 really battleground states and talk about this and talk about what's happened over the last 4 years as compared to the Trump administration. That's number one. But really, number two is practice strategic patience. Look, this is going to be a big week for Democrats here. They get the stage mostly to themselves. Our job isn't to worry about the next week. Our job is to worry about the week after and beyond. And at this point, there's 29 days until people start to vote in Pennsylvania. We've got to be focused on that and not worried about the short term, focused on our messaging going forward. And I think, given where the race is at, it's dead even right now, and that's a pretty darn good place for Republicans to be.
Yeah, well, and I think it speaks to also that Trump's on the campaign trail this week when he initially was not going to be. But another speaker it's a lot of political powerhouses coming out, speaking of what that stage is going to look like. I was thinking, at the Republican convention, there was no Vice President Pence there. There was no Dick Cheney. There was no George W. Bush. It was remarkable that the past Republican presidents and vice presidents and candidates who were not there. We'll see Hillary Clinton on that stage this week. And our reporting is that she's going to talk about how many cracks have been put in the proverbial glass ceiling.
I love that. Well, I mean, that was her big line at the end when she stepped back to let Obama step forward. She finally said, look, we've gone as far as we can, but she says that glass ceiling is still there, but we put 18 million cracks in it. And now here we are just a few years later, and that ceiling has now been broken by Kamala Harris. It is remarkable. We're going to have Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. Donald Trump had Hulk Hogan. I mean, the contrast in terms of having the full party behind Kamala Harris, all of our luminaries, all of our powerhouses saying this is the person we believe in, and you literally just had, I think Kid Rock or something vouching for Donald Trump, and his vice president, not only did he not come, he had been afraid to come because he might have been injured. That's the difference between these two parties.
Yeah, David, what does that contrast say? It is pretty interesting to look at that and to see who was there for that one and who will be here for this.
I mean, presidential politics is about going forward. What is your vision for the future? And I think for our party, it really is a much different party than the last time we held the White House. It is a Donald Trump party today, and he wanted the convention to convey that to voters, again, not just across the country, but in battleground states. And you know what? If I was trying today to persuade an independent or undecided voter in Pennsylvania or Michigan, probably want Kid Rock on that stage and Hulk Hogan rather than politicians from the past. And so I think that's just where the party's at. And frankly, I think that's where a lot of the undecided electorate's at today. So I don't call one way good or bad. I just call them different.
And Donald Trump has been out on the campaign trail talking about Harris. Obviously, he has continued to question her legitimacy as the nominee of the party, but also he was talking about going into this convention. Listen to what he said in Pennsylvania on Saturday night.
Why does she go to the convention? Because it's a rigged convention, obviously. She got no votes. Joe Biden hates her. This was an overthrow of a president. This was an overthrow.
He's saying this was an overthrow of a president. He's also questioning why there is an election being held at all.
Look, I mean, what can you say about the guy? I mean, this is not the first time a sitting president passed the torch over to a vice president. It happened in 1968, a year I was born, when Johnson did that for his vice president. This is a part of our process. We don't have a cult. We have a political party. And when you have a political party, principles and ideals and values matter. And if you got somebody, their arm is tired, they can't finish pitching out the game, you put in another pitcher. That's what a political party can do. When you have a cult, you can't replace the leader because you have the dear leader in place. And that's what Donald Trump is for his party, unfortunately.
I just want to say I'm just glad to learn live on air that you're older than me. So thank you.
But in all seriousness, I mean, the imagery that Trump is posting, the AI image behind Harris with the hammer and sickle of the Soviet flag, I mean, and obviously that is an AI-generated fake image, but that's what he's trying to argue this convention is going to look like. Does that hit with voters still in the same way?
It does. Look, in this environment of the last 28 days...
Communism?
In the last 28 days, Donald Trump has had a hard time getting any attention. We've never seen that since 2015. We've never seen a four-week stretch where he struggled to get himself into the info flow stage. And so he's doing everything he can, not just to get himself back into the mix and have us talk about it, but more importantly, do it in a way that puts her on defense about issues like price controls and otherwise, which are actually good policy differences for him to make. So it's Donald Trump being Donald Trump, and you're going to expect more of that coming.
Donald Trump, desperate, petty, small, silly. It's ridiculous. Now, we've got to run our numbers up this week. The reality is she's had an extraordinary 28 days.
Historic.
A historic, unprecedented, and yet we're still tied. And so we've got to run the score up this week. This is the last shot we have, pretty much uncontested, to make sure people know what her agenda is and what she's about, to deal with any unfinished business inside of our party, with any folks who are not happy. And then from there, we go into real combat after Labor Day.
Van Jones, David Polyansky, they've got to go warm up with the band, actually. They've got practice coming up. You could hear it in the background.
I'm ready.
Meanwhile,